In this video, we're going to have a good look at Ashes of Faith, the new campaign set for Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team. Welcome everybody, my name is Peter and this is the Esoteric Order of Gamers. Now, the Esoteric Order of Gamers is dedicated to all types of tabletop games. I've been playing them all my life and absolutely love them. But at the moment, we're going through a bit of a Games Workshop phase because they're releasing a whole lot of stuff. There's so much going on, it's incredible. Now, I recently did a video about Kill Team Gallowfall, and I took the opportunity when I did that video to talk about the Kill Team system in general and how much I was enjoying it. Now, we've got a new one that's come out now, and that is Ashes of Faith. And this is different. It's great to see something different. We've moved beyond the Gallow Dark, the Space Hulk, the close quarters combat within the Space Hulk, and we're now getting into a big campaign. And also it's focusing on what I find a particularly interesting aspect of the Warhammer 40,000 universe, and that is the Inquisition versus the Chaos Cults. Now, before I get started, let me tell you, as always, that Games Workshop sent me a free copy of this box. I do not charge them for any of my videos, and my opinions are always my own because I enjoy these games, play them, and I want to tell you about them. And Games Workshop very kindly give me the opportunity to do so. We both know that Games Workshop games cost a lot of money. They're premium products and they're quite expensive. Now I'm lucky enough, after 10 years of doing content creation, to be on the list and be able to get these for free to show them to you. But I also acknowledge that you can't buy everything. I mean, they're really expensive. But the quality is really good, and personally I've really been enjoying having the opportunity to explore a wider range of Games Workshop products than I have been before. So I hope these videos help you make a decision about where you spend your valuable gaming dollars. Okay, I'm going to let you into a little secret now. Come a little bit closer. Let me tell you something. I'm not really that interested in Space Marines. I know, it's bizarre, but I've always found Space Marines, you know, a little bland, a little serious, a little bit sort of puffed up with their own importance. The stuff about the Warhammer 40,000 universe that I've always really enjoyed, and it's probably due to the fact that I was right there at the start when the first book, Rogue Trader, came out and I bought it. I've loved all the stuff about chaos and corruption and all the weird things that go on in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. I really enjoy that kind of thing, and that's why I'm quite excited about this set, because it really focuses on chaos and weirdness and all that really imaginative stuff that was so well epitomised by John Blanche and his bizarre artwork in the early days of Games Workshop. Now, if you're a young'un and you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google John Blanche and look back at some of the artwork for the early days and just see that kind of bizarre, kind of gothic, Hieronymus Boschian kind of feel that Warhammer 40,000 used to have. Now, I know that Space Marines sell a lot more than anything else, but it's really nice to see a focus on the more weird stuff. And this is why I really enjoy the skirmish games set in the Warhammer 40,000 universe, because it gives Games Workshop an opportunity to concentrate on the more characterful elements of their universe rather than the limitless regiments of Space Marines. So what I'm basically saying is there's some lovely stuff in this set. There are 40 miniatures. So in this set, we've got two fascinating factions. The first are the Inquisitors, which are the secretive, powerful agents who work behind the scenes in the Imperium to get rid of the threat of the warp and of the Chaos Gods, whether they be psychic users or Chaos God worshippers or the dreaded Xenos. The other are the Chaos Cults themselves, and here we have a motley band of warped creatures and human beings who have given over their humanity to chaos and are starting to mutate into horrible forms. There's so much imagination in these figures, I think you'll really enjoy them. So let's look at first the book that you get with the set, the main book, and then and the miniatures themselves, and then we'll get into the campaign book and how that works, because there are some unusual elements in this box set to let you run an Ashes of Faith campaign. So first up, we've got the Ashes of Faith Kill Team book, and this tells you about the background of the agents of the Inquisition and the Chaos Cults, of course with lovely miniatures, photographs and things like that. Now, the other interesting thing about the Inquisitor Agents is that they have ancillary support. So not only in this set do you get 5 Sisters of Silence and 5 Tempestus Scions, but you can also bring in warbands or support agents from previous sets in the Kill Team range. So you've got an Exaction Squad, which has got the Arbites units. You've got the Imperial Navy Breaches, the Kaskin, and the Veteran Guardsmen. So this actually does draw on earlier sets, so you can use those miniatures again. While the Imperium agents are an interesting and characterful bunch, they also take this support with them on missions. Of course, there are a huge range of Chaos Cults, usually dedicated to one of the 4 main Chaos Gods. We've got mutants here. We've got 3 Chaos Torments, which are these fantastic demony warp creatures. We've got devotees of chaos, a big bunch of those, and some other special figures as well. They're really, really nice miniatures. When we get into the rules, of course, we have our army list for all of those. When we get into the Inquisition, they have a certain number of operatives, and then, as I said, they have this ancillary support, so you can choose from among your the miniatures in this set or previous miniatures to add to the Inquisition team. Then you've got your Chaos Cult team, which is usually led by a demagogue, has some other special figures, and then devotees and mutants and torments as well. And of course, both of these factions have their spec op rules if you're running a campaign. So let's have a closer look at the miniatures. I wish I'd had time to paint these, but there are 40 miniatures here, and I'm working on a big Games Workshop project at the moment, so I've only had time to construct them, base them, do a bit of texturing on the base, and then prime them ready for painting. But it certainly gives you a good idea of what the miniatures look like before the paint is applied. There are a few options when you're building your inquisitorial agents, but these are the ones I've chosen to build. First up, we've got our Interrogator agent, the Auto Savant agent, and this guy's a lovely automated creature with 2 arms, frantically writing on a scroll. There's a Tome Skull, a Gun Servitor with Plasma Cannon and Servo Claw, a Pistolier agent, a Death World Veteran agent, and a Penal Legionnaire agent. You get 5 Sisters of Silence you can build with swords, bolt guns, or flamers, and 5 Tempestus Scions, and there are medic options here, a comms guy with a grenade launcher, and some las rifle guys, various options. You can also have these guys with heads with berets on. I preferred the more anonymous gas mask look. The Chaos Cults feature this fantastic Iconarch, the Cult Demagogue, a couple of Blessed Blades, look at the size of those swords, and an utterly bizarre looking Mind Witch. There's a wonderful group of 4 Chaos Mutants, 10 Ravening Chaos Devotees, and finally 3 horribly mutilated Chaos Torments. Well, as you can see, that's a pretty impressive range of miniatures, and the thing I love about these particular miniatures is that they all have so much character. Each Inquisitor model feels like it's got its own backstory, and there are all those wonderful mutated, warped creatures which are just so interesting and so redolent of the early days of Warhammer 40,000. Now, of course, you can use these factions in any Kill Team game, but in this set we have something special, which is this campaign rulebook. And you can play this 7-game campaign as long as you're playing the Inquisitors versus the Chaos Cults. But you don't have to use these models. You can use any models in your collection as long as they fall into either of those 2 sides. Now, the unusual thing about this campaign is that it has a set of cards and also these territory boards. There are 6 of these, and you'll be fighting over 6 territories during the campaign. There's a deck of territory cards, and every campaign you'll be choosing, or randomly choosing, 6 of these cards as the territories you'll be fighting over. So let's have a little look through the campaign rulebook, and I'll explain how this works. So in the campaign rulebook, we get, of course, some background information about the Chaos Cults and the Inquisition that is hunting them down. And there's a lot of lovely atmospheric background stuff here. But this campaign is pretty much set on 1 planet and 1 city. The city is called Deepwell, and the planet is called Exalus, or Exilus. Probably Exilus, I guess. So here's our overview of the campaign, and you can see there are various different decks. Now there's an Inquisition deck and a Chaos Cult deck, and each one of these all has the same symbol on the back, but is made up of various cards. You've got ruse cards, you have conspirator cards, which are all nicely illustrated with the various conspirators, and then you've got the three most important cards, which are persuade, investigate, and control. These are called scheme cards. The Inquisition deck has a similar setup, though of course we've got different illustrations for the conspirator cards. There's also two other decks. These are the persuasion benefit cards, which give you a special ability you can use during games, and the investigation reward cards. So the game is divided into 6 different rounds, and each of those rounds is divided into a battle stage, draft stage, scheme stage, and dominant stage. And then at the end of 6 rounds or 6 games, you'll have a final game called the Ritual. Now you can use any missions you have available for the 6 different rounds of the campaign. However, there is a starting mission called the Cult Revealed, which they recommend that you use. And then once you've gone through the whole campaign, for that last mission called the Ritual, there are 4 different mission options. So what do you do in this campaign round, I hear you ask? Well, this is where you bid on the different territories. So you'll have 6 of these boards out, and each of them will have one of these territory cards on them, which describes the particular territory. It's also got particular mission rules as well, which will slightly modify the rules of the game. That's stuck in the middle there, and you can keep track of these using these stickers. These are like frictionless stickers, so they can be reused. You peel them off and you can stick it on there to identify the sector you're using there. Then players take turns bidding their cards to each of these 2 spaces in an attempt to get control of the various territories. Now they're doing this over the 6 territories, so you can decide which territories you want to concentrate on and which ones you get control of. However, it's not just about getting control. Sure, you want to get the control of the most territories by the end of the game, and that's represented by this track here. But there's also 2 other tracks as well, Persuade and Investigate. So in the battle stage, you'll select a territory to fight over, you'll play a game, and the winner of the game earns 1 control point. So they'll put their sticker 1 point further up on the control track. Then you go to the draft stage and you collect conspirator cards, which are these ones with the portraits on them. You get a number of those depending on the number of victory points you scored in the preceding battle stage. You also get 2 ruse cards, which are like bluffing cards as well. Then we go on to the scheme stage, and this is where you play cards to either side of the territory. Now, you can only play 1 of the Control, Persuade, Investigate cards to a territory. You've only got 1 of each of those cards, and they have a value of 1. However, once you play 1 of these cards, you can play any number of Conspirator cards to that territory as well, and they have a value of 1 each as well. Now, you can use good old ruse cards to fool your opponents. You can play them down and make them think that you're playing more cards to a territory than you actually are. They're not actually worth anything. So 1 at a time you bid these cards until everyone decides that they don't want to bid anymore, and then you count up the cards in the dominant stage. You reveal the bids, you update your points trackers on each of the territories, and then you establish dominance. So if you've got the most control points in the territory, you're controlling it. So you have to win the game by controlling the most territories, so that's very important. Persuade is also very handy, but in a different way. If you have the most persuasion points in a territory, you're persuading it, obviously, and that means you get to use that territory's persuasion benefit. Each territory has a specific persuasion benefit, and they're on the territory cards. Finally, if your investigation points in a territory reach 4 or more, you gain an investigation reward card. Each territory can only be investigated once, and these will give you one-off benefits during games. You can also do tricky things like sabotage. So if you bid an investigation that's already been investigated, you can subtract points from your opponent's control or persuasion points there. There are 2 different winning conditions. One is, as I said before, getting a control victory, which is controlling the most territories. Another one is winning the final game, which is a ritual victory. And there are different outcomes described here, depending on whether you get a total victory or one of those 2 victories. Of course, if you're playing this as a Spec Ops campaign, which you can, there are various other rewards which make the narrative play aspect more interesting. So here we get all the territory rules redescribed and the persuasion benefit of each territory. Then we get those campaign missions, as I said, the initial mission and the 4 choices of ritual mission. So there's a lot of options here for repeating this campaign if you wish. There's 15 territory cards and you only need 6, and there are 4 different final missions as well. Well, there you have it, folks. A quick look at Ashes of Faith, this new Kill Team campaign set. Now, the thing that amuses me sometimes when I read the books from these sets is that it says things like, oh, this 7-game campaign, you could just pop in the middle of your existing campaign, you know, as a bit of a refresher or, you know, a catch-up mechanic, and then get on with your campaign and blah, blah, blah. And I just think, are there people out there who play nothing but Kill Team? Because you'd have to dedicate all of your gaming time to Kill Team to get through all this stuff. So this is the thing, of course, there is so much available for just this game alone. I mean, there are all the Gallo Dark missions, there's this campaign, there's stuff that's in White Dwarf, there's so much stuff. So, you know, if for some reason you're playing nothing but Kill Team, you have a surfeit of riches. However, for those of us who play lots and lots of games, you don't have to get everything. You can just pick the one that you like the most. And I hope these videos are helpful in helping you make that decision. So you can decide that you think that one set is particularly the thing for you, and the miniatures are particularly attractive to you, and you like the idea of the game or the setting of that particular set, and just get that one set. So what Games Workshop here is not saying buy everything, though I'm sure they'd love you to buy anything. What they're saying is here's a huge amount of choice. If you enjoy Kill Team, pick one of these sets and go for it. You will get lots and lots of playtime out of it. And I think that's something that's sometimes overlooked when people say how expensive these sets are. I'm not denying they are expensive, but you can get a lot of playtime out of it. So, I hope this one has helped you make a decision. I think this is pretty amazing if you're looking just for a dedicated campaign. However, if you really enjoy Kill Team and you like the look of these models, there's some really nice models here. And as I said, I just love the individual character that they all have. And I really like the whole Inquisition versus mutants from the warp kind of idea. I think that's a really nice setting. So something a little bit different. It's going to be interesting to see where Kill Team goes from here. I imagine what they'll do is come up with a whole new setting which will be used for a series of boxes over the next year or something. Who knows? There's always new stuff coming up from Games Workshop. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Check out all my social media. There's links in the show notes to join up and follow. I cover a huge range of games, as I said, not just Games Workshop games, so check out all the hundreds of old videos and go to my website at orderofgamers.com, because everything I've done over the last 10 years is searchable there, especially all the hundreds and hundreds of rules and reference sheets that I've made for board games and tabletop games. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.